It's been said that the number looks better in your top 5 contacts and more beneficial frequently used at your discretion. I'm not talking about just a company, but the company, HA-serviceGroup. I'm not talking about just a company, but the company, HA-serviceGroup.
I want to introduce a man that built a company for himself and has been HA-grouping ever since. Gather your palms and give a warm welcome to my guy, Agent Shaun Lynch.
Wanted to create this thing and just touch base, guys. I wanted to oh yeah, okay, we said yeah. All right, so let's go with it. So yo, welcome. I'm Agent Shaun Lynch, and guys, I wanted to create this thing and just touch base on certain conversations that we've had previously. And in those previous conversations, certain topics were hit upon, talked about, and some of those topics that I like to also kind of give way of more detail to. And those topics were business, objective, and population. Now, as we walk through the different options, the different subjects that are provided throughout this, we'll just take our time to go through them one by one in detail. Let's start with business. Now, as we previously had a conversation about business, I want to start at the point of business it varies. It's a broad thing. It has many different components, and when even try to narrow it down, it's still a wide range when you're talking about industry, um, experience, and activities. It spreads across a wide range of things. But as we take a look at business, that on the topic of business, some of the things that I want to talk about is you know um, what are some of the things that you see for your business? What are some of the things what is your starting point when it comes to certain things? What are some of the things that you see for your business, and where are you currently? Now, with that being said, I want to take the time to take a look at um, business from a point of you know how different it can be, how it differentiates from not only industries, activities and experience. But I'll tell you that I want to say this: there are many there are a lot of successful businesses that employ a handful of individuals. You don't to be a successful to be a success within the business that you within your business doesn't entail that you have to have um, you know, 70 employees or 100 employees or more than that. I'm telling you that there are businesses that operate and that are hitting um, you know expectation marks with just a handful of employees. Now, with that being said, that is another way. That's another option how business in itself differentiates from one to another. Because when you're talking about employment status, a handful of employees, you know that doesn't measure the the business in itself. So what I mean by that is there are certain responsibilities. There are certain details that are specified when you're talking about the overall I don't want to say goal, but the overall business within itself, right? So when you're talking about the employee status, it varies. And again, you don't want to look at it from a direction of a unfiltered a unfiltered lens, meaning that certain things that don't apply, right? And when you're looking through an unfiltered lens, it doesn't mean that it's fabricated or it's built around what you want to see. It's that it's eliminating certain things that you don't have to place upon your business. And a lot of things, what you don't want to do is you don't want to place certain barriers on your business that don't allow you to hit certain marks, because the barriers that you set upon your business in fact doesn't even translate. It doesn't translate. So I hear a lot of times a lot of businesses or business, it looks it's certain time the conversation turns into a one-sided thing, and I don't want that to be the focus point when you're talking about business. Now again, I want to reiterate that size is something that does not that we're not talking about. But because that is a part of the business, I have to also, sit here and I want to, appreciate, you know, different businesses from experience, activities, and industries. No matter the size of it, we just want to let's take a moment and let's just embrace, the business in itself. Because a lot of times, we're talking about established businesses that have been built and put forward time and time again, and we just want to we want to be able to embrace what it is that we are speaking to and speaking of when we're talking about different business, when we're talking about business in itself, and how vast and different it could be. So I just wanted to kind of speak on that within the conversation. But also when you're talking about business, you're talking about some of the things that I want to you know also speak to is where are you exactly. Now a lot of times you have these conversations where I previously spoke on individuals giving thought. This is not a thing that you want to put a rush order on. I mentioned that before, but it's where you are exactly. Have you get you may be at the point to where you're just giving thought to the option, and then you may be at the point where you taking it a step further to where you've actually began to put in the work and the action behind just going to begin to build out that business that you are starting for yourself. So another thing I want to also talk about is I give a lot of examples, and I mentioned this before. Now, I give a lot of examples, and the thing about giving examples is that um, sometimes they're able to transcend to where we're able to apply it to different situations or different understandings outside of the initial example within it was used. But not everything is applicable to all aspects or point of views and responsibilities, and that is what we're talking about when it comes to business. Not everything is applicable to all aspects or point of views and responsibilities. That is where we begin to navigate our way through, the point that we're talking about on the topic of business, because not everything is, applicable. So I wanna also say that, and we also want to keep that understanding in mind. Now, as we move right along, we're going to take a step further into the next topic, which is objective. Now, with objective, I mentioned previously that, when it comes to objectives, there are a cycle of events. Now, with the cycle of events, what that looks like is individuals, that look to repeat. Yeah, it did it again, man. So, what it did was we got to do it. So what's happening right now is you can see I'm a little, you know, yeah. But we're gonna give it a minute. We're gonna give it a minute, man. And then we're gonna get back with it. So we're gonna run the So what's gonna happen now is we're gonna run the mic check. We're gonna run the mic check again on the audio. All right. So where are we? Gonna get and it is not. The thing about it is, you know what? Yo, yo, yo. Mic check.